All righty. Good afternoon. I was ready to say good morning. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Kelsey. I make comics. Today, I'm going to show you how I use a somewhat little known program called Affinity Publisher to format my books. Now, I want to get some announcements out of the way before I continue. First, um, this is still going to hold true. I urge you, if you can and if you have the means, to please donate to the Ukrainian Red Cross. I'm going to put a link up on the screen right now. Um, there we go. If you have the means, please donate to the Ukrainian Red Cross. Um, if you do, just shout it out. I will draw you a mystery commission. What's a mystery commission? A mystery commission is I get to draw something custom for you, but I get to decide what it is. So if you would like to get a mystery piece of art made by me for you, consider donating to the Ukrainian Red Cross because that would be your reward. It's I'm very much one of those people that if it's within my power to do something to make the world suck less, that's what I'm going to do. Hey, Carlos, good to see ya. Um, Also, gonna throw this out there too, announcement wise, because you know this past weekend has been generally not great for lots of people, not just Ukrainians. So if you are concerned about any of that, you have every right to be. Um, Particularly LGBTQ people, I would encourage you to keep going and also keep an eye on your local and state legislatures, not just Texas. Texas is not the only place that has anti-LGBTQ legislation on the table. So keep keep on keeping on. Um, Into the personal stuff, the personal announcements before we get to today's topic. Other announcements. Tomorrow is my a regular update of my webcomic, The Legend of Jamie Roberts. It is a webcomic that I've been doing since 2018, I want to say. It's about a genderqueer pirate and their two best friends treasure hunting in a land full of dragons. You'll actually see me begin formatting volume 2 of The Legend of Jamie Roberts because volume 1 is already in print. It will be in my Ko-fi shop fairly soon. Speaking of which, I have a Ko-fi shop and a Ko-fi in general. So if you like what you see, feel free to leave a tip. Ko-fi.com/Kelsey D. Crawford. You can leave a tip. You can become a monthly member. If you become a monthly member, you get to see how I make comics behind the scenes. You get to see the scripts. You get to see the pencil stages. You get to see comics a few days early. You get all kinds of other little goodies. You can also, if you give $10 a month or more, become a member of the Sticker of the Month Club. Speaking of which, for folks who are in my Sticker of the Month Club, the vote for the March sticker is now up. So check the Tiny Dinos Discord server and cast your vote. It's going to be in the art channel. And I'll go ahead and throw this out there too. I have a mini comic, The Legend of Azumi, which you can download for free at tinyurl.com/The Legend of Azumi. Um, Depending on how this kind of tutorial slash show and tell stream goes, you may see how I formatted The Legend of Azumi because I actually used Affinity Publisher, today's program in question, to format The Legend of Azumi into PDF form. With all those announcements out of the way, let's get into Affinity Publisher. So, one of the big reasons I use Affinity Publisher is because I am broke and I don't want to give Adobe any of my money. um, and I mostly say that because there was a gig at one point that it was part of the job to get a subscription to Adobe Illustrator. For let's set the record straight. I hate Adobe Illustrator. I am never working with that program ever again. But it was that experience that made me go, "Oh, I'm never going to give Adobe any of my money ever again once I cancel the subscription." And so far, knock on wood, that has been the case. Um, and I switched to Affinity Publisher. Yes, absolutely. Boo Adobe. There's so many reasons to not like Adobe. Um, Arch of Winter, I feel like you would get this. Adobe has partnered in some ways with the concept of NFTs. So now you can export NFTs in their programs, which is a phenomenally bad idea. Um, I've talked about that before in a previous live stream. So that's another reason I'm not giving Adobe any of my money, because I phenomenally disagree with NFTs and cryptocurrency and blockchain more broadly. There's just so much about it that is just a liability, and also really good for committing fraud. But Affinity Publisher is my program of choice because, for one thing, it's actually easier to use in some ways than Adobe programs are. It's also less of a data hog. Like, it does not take that much space on the hard drive. Like, I'm pretty sure that if I tried to like share the screen with like Adobe InDesign, which is the program equivalent of Affinity Publisher, if I tried to open Adobe InDesign and stream at the same time, I'm pretty sure my laptop would not be able to handle it. But it can handle live streaming and Affinity Publisher, which is saying something. Okay. With all of that, I'll go ahead and share my screen. This is what my Affinity Publisher layout looks like currently. So before I hit new document, I'm going to give you a little rough tour of where everything is. So along the left, we have pages and master pages. We also have assets, stock, and pre-flight. I don't worry about anything other than pages. Pages is what that's our most relevant thing right now. Along the right-hand side, we have a little window for color, swatches, and stroke. Again, I don't tend to worry about that. The window below that, though, that's layers, character, paragraph, and text styles. This is a bigger concern because layers and character, paragraph, and text styles are what you're going to be working with to format a book in this program. Uh, Typically, because I format comics with this program, I only really worry about layers, and I only really worry about the latter three functionalities whenever I'm adding, say, a forward, or I'm putting Kickstarter credits in the back of a book, for example. The very bottom has transform, history, and navigator. Let's go back to transform for a second. The transform window is going to come in very handy whenever you are manipulating images, particularly if you're laying out a comic, or if you're laying out, because odds are pretty high I'm going to show off how to do this. Whenever you're laying out a sticker sheet, that transform window is going to come in very handy, because odds are pretty high that you're going to be shrinking and expanding images. That window is going to come in very handy for that. Along the top, we have your typical commands. You got file, edit, document, text, table, layer, select, view, window, help. Now for this, let's go ahead and get a new document going, because I'm pretty sure I don't have. Yeah, I didn't think I did. Because today I want to start formatting the PDF for Roxy Comics. Uh, the Roxy Comics are the comics that happen in the world of validation that follow Roxy, the punk rock trans girl and roller derby enthusiast. So today we're going to begin formatting that book. Now, I'm looking at this window on the live stream, and I'm looking at my program, and my program is not showing. Take two. The live stream is not showing the new document command window for some strange reason. Let me see if I can perhaps, because it might be a separate window. No, it doesn't look like it. All right. So, okay. Whenever you're in Affinity Publisher and you hit new document, it'll pop up with with a variety of suggestions. Um, and there are going to be presets. The presets do come in handy, but for the Roxy comics, we're not working with presets. We're going to have to make something custom. So, because Roxy comics are comic strips, not comic pages, the page width and the page height are going to be not conventional. So, a conventional comic page is about 6.625 inches by either 10.25 inches or 10.5 inches. I can't remember which one at this moment, but we'll get to that whenever we start formatting the Legend of Jamie Roberts Volume 2 in this stream. For now, the Roxy comics are going to be, and I have the dimensions right here. We're going to use the same dimensions as I used for Thoughtful Dinosaur, because Thoughtful Dinosaur was also a comic strip. So we are going to have it be 8.5 inches wide, but the height, so Thoughtful Dinosaur's height was 5.375 inches. I think I'm just going to round that up to 5.5 inches. And the reason for that is 5.5 inches is half of a standard copy paper sheet. Good to see you, Jessica. I was wondering when you were going to pop up in the comment section. Yes, hello. And okay, so we got the page dimensions. Again, you can't see it in the live stream. I can see it in my window. Not entirely sure why StreamYard's not showing you this command center, but we're going to have the page width be 8.5 inches, page height 5.5 inches. The DPI, or dots per inch, we're going to have it at 300. That's your minimum for a good print job. In color, I should say. If you're working in black and white, your dots per inch needs to be higher. So, pro tip for anybody out there who wants to format a black and white anything, particularly a comic. We're going to use document units inches. Sometimes whenever you're working with presets, the preset units are going to be in millimeters. I prefer inches. The orientation, because of the dimensions we're using, we're going to have the orientation be portrait. Or no, not portrait. Portrait is when it looks like this. We're going to have it be landscape, which is rotated. Number of pages, we'll go with 30 to start. I don't think we'll need 30, but we will see. And below the layout, there's going to be a little command center for pages. We're going to have, I'm going to uncheck facing pages, actually. But if you did check off the facing pages box, it'll ask you, do you want to arrange it horizontally or vertically? And do you want it to start on the right or the left? Whenever you're formatting this for print, you do want to have facing pages and you start on the right because of how cover layouts are. Since I'm formatting this for both print and web, I'm just going to uncheck the facing pages box. And the color format, we're going to make it CMYK. Create. Alrighty. And that created our document. Now, 5.5 by 8.5. Now that I have this up, I really should have added some margins. But we're working with this. All right, so we're going to actually skip formatting anything for pages 1 and 2 because page 1 is going to be our cover art. I'm actually going to write it here. cover. Um, Page 2 is going to be our legalese, like copyright 2022, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Page 3, I'm going to leave that blank because I reached out to CB and CB said she was going to write an introduction. So I'm going to put the introduction on page 3. So then page 4, I'm going to have that be a dedication. And that means page 5 is where comic placement starts in earnest. For that, let's get to the move tool, which on the hotkeys, you just hit the letter V as in Victor, and that'll get you the move tool, which is this arrow. Now, the nice thing about Affinity Publisher is that you can open up your little file manager in a separate window, and you can just drag and drop images, which is what I just did with this one. I just dragged and dropped it from the place where I had it stored. Okay, so when formatting for print, um, and this is more helpful whenever you have the preset for facing pages, but we did not do that with this. So whenever you're laying out a page, you want to try to cheat for the binding in the center. So what does that mean? We'll get to that in a second. I'm going to see if I can get this back to having the pages face each other. The here's one particular asset of Affinity Publisher that I'm still not used to yet, because on the one hand, I do love using this program to format books. On the other hand, it can it can be tricky to remember where the command is to make the pages face each other or not once you're working in the document. So, alrighty. Alrighty. Uh, I think it's in File Documents Setup. Yes, it is. We're going to turn facing pages back on. Boom. All right. And that lays out the pages a little differently. That gets it back to having, there's your cover, and then you have it so that you can see the spine is down the middle. That is going to make this a lot easier to lay out when you're laying this out for print. When you're laying this out just to make a PDF for web publication, you don't have to cheat for the spine, but we're going to be cheating for the spine in this particular document. So we're going to put this about here-ish because we're cheating for the spine. And we're going to drag and drop the second strip. Oh, that's strange. I didn't realize that there was one strip that I had the colors inverted, and that was one of them. But there we go. Okay, I fixed it. Okay. I'm going to try to get these comics.
Okay. I had to switch over from the headphone mic to my Blue Snowball. Blue Snowball is what I usually use when doing these live streams, but I wanted to try to get a little better audio quality, which is what this has, but I drained the battery because it's Bluetooth. Oops. All right. So I am unmuted. Can everybody hear me okay? Shout it out in the comments. Can you hear me all right? I'll give you all a second. Okay. Oh, looks like it's okay. Yeah, it's working. Yay. Good. Reminds me of ye old Verizon commercial. Yes, I know which one you're talking about. All right. Now that we got all that figured out, let's go ahead and get this figured out. Now, if you want to do what I want to do, which is shrink both of these comic strips down to something that I can use that makes it fit within the margins, you can use the move tool, select the first one, and then hit shift and click the second one. And that selects both comic strips. And you can take the move tool, take the corner here, and just push it. And that shrinks both of them, which is nice. Now, I want to try to scale them proportionally rather than just freehand transforming them like, woo, which is not fun. It's not what I want. So shift and then drag it and boom. Okay. Now, if you're wondering, hey, what's with that red line? That red line is a guide that'll help you center things, as it were. And the green line helps you center vertically. That's the word. The red line is horizontal centering. Now, if I were formatting this for digital distribution, I would leave it centered. But since I'm formatting this for print, I'm going to move it just a little to the right here. I'm cheating for the spine. All right. So we got that. Let's lay out the next two comic strips. If I can get the window to cooperate with me on my G's. Whew. There we go. Okay. I'm going to drag and drop some comic strips here. Oh man, looking at this is like, oh yeah, I can tell that I drew this back in 2015. My art does not look like this now. I have gotten a lot better artistically, I'll say that. Hmm. Hmm. There we go. Okay. I was concerned for a minute. All right. Okay, we got that there. Got that there. Now they're both relatively the same size here. Select both. Shrink. Forgot the shift trick. Okay. There it is centered. So we're just going to move it to about there. Okay. I'm going to set up, maybe not set up necessarily, but I'm going to keep in mind some margins. Oh, Okay, I wasn't sure if Affinity Publisher would let me do this. I know Clip Studio can do this thing where if you hang out around the rulers around the edge of the canvas and then you click and drag it, you can set guidelines. Um, you can do this in Clip Studio Paint. Turns out you can do this in Affinity Publisher as well. I wanted to do that to set up a 1-inch margin to give me a guide of where these comic strips can fit furthest on the edge. Okay. And I'm going to zoom in just to make sure that this is like where it needs to be. It is not. So we're going to Control Z for undo. V for the move tool. And we are going to put it at the 1-inch or the 1/2 inch. That's the 1/2 inch mark. Right on there. And we're going to put it at 1/2 inch over here as well. Boop. Okay. So now that we got that, we're going to zoom out. And if you need to just resituate the screen, just hold the space bar and that will give you the hand tool. And then you can move the canvas like this. Back to V. There we go. Line that up with the guide that we got going on over there. And okay, that's good to know. So the guides are not universal across the pages. I feel like that's something that you would need to go into document setup and have a preset for. Bleed? Ah, you can set bleed on this. That's good to know. Layout. Okay. Color? No. Layout? No. Okay. Now the thing is with the I know some things, I do not know everything. I am much more familiar with Clip Studio Paint than I am with Affinity Publisher. But I wanted to give you a gist of how it is that I use Affinity Publisher to lay out things. Obviously, if you still have questions about how everything works, use Affinity Publisher's resources. But I can only show what I know. All right, so just take that guide off. Because that trick that I just did where I just dragged and dropped a guideline, that only applies for the page that it shows up on. It does not apply universally across all pages. So that's good to know. But that is how I lay out comic strips. So super handy that way. We're going to save our progress here. Work, comics. There it is, Roxy. There we go. Roxy book. We're going to close that for now, and I'll show you another book that I've been putting together. This book, I'm going to show a rough idea of how to work with images that bleed. And I'll talk about bleed in a second. So, comics. The Legend of Jamie Roberts. Print books. Well, that's volume 1 materials. Okay. Well, we're going to open up The Legend of Jamie Roberts, volume 1, and I'll show you a few things about this program. It's going to take a minute because it's kind of a large file because this is standard comic size, over 100 pages of art. So it's going to take Affinity Publisher a hot minute to load everything. This is true whether I am live streaming or not. And I chalk this up more to the laptop that I'm working with. It's not any fault of the program. All right. What we're looking at is the dedication. This is the thank you page for the Kickstarter backers who helped make this book possible. I, again, cheated for spine placement here. This is the back cover with this back matter, including the ISBN, logos, descriptors, and all that stuff. Now, when formatting this, these are actually separate elements. The wood bracers and Thomas and Daniel here are art. They are on their own separate layer. Everything else was added in through Affinity Publisher here. So the author bio here, added by me. The websites, added by me. The logos and the ISBN, added by me. The book description, added in. And I also gave a little content warning. It was not necessary, but I felt like I needed to put something there because there is some content here that, look, when I go to comic conventions, I am very much aware that there are parents of young children who will come up to my table, see that there's lots of bright colors and cute characters, and think that everything on the table is cute and safe for kids. It is not. The Legend of Jamie Roberts is more for teens and older. I would almost wager maybe older teen, like 16 plus, because there is non-sexual nudity in there. But, you know, if your 13-year-old can handle non-sexual nudity, that's cool too. This, I will say, is definitely a book that would get banned in Texas because it's about a genderqueer pirate and two best friends treasure hunting in a land full of dragons. Texas is not going to like this book. I don't care. I'm going to make it. It's what brings me joy. You cannot take that away from me, Texas. I may have been born in your state. That does not mean that I have to be proud of you all the time. All right. Let me step off my soapbox for a minute. So let's get into the document setup here. Okay, I thought document setup would tell me like the page dimensions, but we can see the page dimensions up here. So let's zoom in on. There we go. Okay, cool. So the Legend of Jamie Roberts is actually somewhat larger than standard comic size because it's nearly 7 inches wide. And going down to the bottom here. Well, now this is unusual. The top ruler is in inches, but the side ruler over here is not in inches. That's okay. Affinity Publisher, you are silly. You are very, very silly. Or it is, but it's treating the document as just one long thing, which that might be what it's doing. Yeah, that's what it's doing. It's treating the document as one long scroll. The ruler is anyway. All right. There we go. Okay. Using the ruler function over here, we can see that the pages themselves are about 10 and 2.5 inches by, oh no, this is standard size. So the bleed tripped me up for a minute. Let's go back up to the top here. So when looking at the cover here for The Legend of Jamie Roberts, you'll see that there's this, like, there are boxes. These will not show up when it is in print. The boxes are guidelines. These are your margins. So the actual page size is this outermost box-ish here. Everything outside of that is what's called bleed. Bleed is excess art that sits outside of the margin so that when the page gets cut, it looks like it is bleeding off the edges of the page. And this is handy whenever you're doing effects like having this like larger than life comic cover. You want it to bleed off of the edges. When you are drawing art, work within what's called the live area. And I can show you what the live area is in Clip Studio Paint because the preset margins in Affinity Publisher don't 100% line up with comic standards unless you program it that way. Looking at the comment, make a Texas version and go the Sailor Moon route with changes that would appease people at a glance but make things a lot more questionable. That would require way too much rewriting. I'm not going to do that. If somebody else wants to do a little bit of that rewriting, that would just make an entirely new story, I feel like. But like, no, I'm not going to rewrite the story to make it Texas friendly. Like, as hilarious as that would be, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not compromising the story. All right. So, whew. What I'm going to be doing for setting up volume 2 then is I'm going to first Control-Shift-S, because that will allow me to save project as, and that way I can rename the project if I wanted to, which I'm definitely going to do. I'm going to make a new folder for volume 2. And I'm going to name this document Legend of Jamie Roberts Volume 2. And it's going to take a minute. Because this is a large file. This is over 100 pages saved at 300 dots per inch each page, because this particular thing is going to print. You can, once you have set this up for printing, you can export it as a web-friendly PDF, which is how I tend to format my digital comics like The Legend of Ajumi. And we'll get to that in a minute. So now that we've got that figured out, I'm gonna go through and delete a few things. That's dedication, and that's page 1 already. For this, it's just going to be easier if I go back into the document setup and have the pages facing each other. So document setup, facing pages. Boop. Okay, it's going to take the left-hand command center a second to catch up. There it goes. Okay. Okay. Much faster to delete pages whenever you're doing it this way. Okay. Again, since this is the volume 2 save file, I'm not too worried about deleting these because the volume 1 working file already exists. Okay, that's enough pages for part 1 to be deleted. Okay, back to here. We're gonna, okay. We did that. I'm gonna change the document setup again and turn facing pages off again. And we're gonna give it a second. Okay. Cool. And if you want to jump to a particular page within the document, use that command center on the left to get to the page in the layout that you want to jump to, and then double click it. And that'll take you to where you need to go. Boom, there. And with that, I'm going to start dragging and dropping some pages in here. I'm actually going to change this a bit. This dedication, I'm going to move up here. About, yeah. That way, this can go here. Again, I'm trying to keep print in mind for this particular for this particular layout. There. The ability to drag and drop things into Affinity Publisher is part of the reason I splurged and got this program, because I love that feature. Now, full disclosure, this is going to be a shorter stream than my usual ones. Usually I stream for about 2 hours, but since this is more of a showing off how-to kind of tutorial, we're going to wrap this up at about 3-ish, depending on if you have any questions. Which, if you do have any questions about anything about this process, shout them out in the comments and I will get to them as soon as I can. Okay. The unfortunate thing is I won't be able to show off as much as I wanted to in this show and tell episode because the the like windows that pop up for document setup and all the other like presets and commands and things like that are not showing on the live stream, which is unfortunate because I want them to show on the live stream and they're just not cooperating with me. That's okay. You know, it's super freaking annoying when there are commenters on Twitch that leave very obvious spam comments, and StreamYard does not give me the ability to like delete or block or put them in timeout, which is unusual because usually it can. But for some strange reason, there is one commenter that I cannot do that to, which is unfortunate. Makes me wonder what wizardry that you pulled, or if you are a bot. Elias4191 on Twitch. you look like a very obvious bot. All right, we're going to save our file here. Okay. With that, we're going to put volume 2 aside for now. And I'll go ahead and show laying out a sticker sheet. Because now I have the setup to actually print my own sticker sheets here at home. So we're going to make a new file. For page width, we're doing 8.5 inches, page height 11 inches, because the sticker paper that I have is copy paper sized 8.5 by 11. It's just when I go to print it, I have to tell the printer that it's specialty paper and not standard copy paper. That's about the biggest difference. Number of pages, we're just doing 1. DPI 300. Because this is what you need. And we're going to put color format at CMYK because that's what printers use. If you're making this just for publication online, save it as RGB. CMYK is what printers use. RGB is what computer screens use. So if you want to get the best colors possible out of a given project, there you go. Ooh, this is a good question. Since you already use Clip Studio, which has publishing features, is there certain issues that is lacking for publishing? So I have not used too many of Clip Studio's publishing features. Thing is, the version of Clip Studio that I have is Pro. The next version up is the one that has the ability to lay out pages for a book and a few other features. It also has EX. That's it. Clip Studio EX. That's the next one up from Pro. Pro is the one that I currently have. But Clip Studio EX has more robust publishing features and animation features and things like that. So really I can't really say too much more about Clip Studio's publishing features. I will say that if you're looking to get into Webtoon and publishing comics on Webtoon, Clip Studio does have a preset where if you hit new document, it'll ask you, are you making a standalone illustration, a comic page, a Webtoon? Webtoon is now a preset in Clip Studio Paint when you're setting up a new document. Now, when I draw in Clip Studio Paint, I actually do not use the comic preset because their comic preset has a lot more commands and fiddly bits than what I am comfortable working with. So whenever I am actually drawing a page, like for The Legend of Jamie Roberts, I work with the illustration presets because that is the most basic. You'd think Pro would have these features. That's just bad naming on their part. So Pro has other features that the trial version does not have. Pro is honestly a lot handier for people who are just in it to make comics. If you're looking to like do animations or anything like that, like Clip Studio EX is the version that you want to use. But with Clip Studio, Pro works perfectly fine for my uses because compared to the trial version, especially, Clip Studio Pro has a lot more robust lettering features. It has a way larger color palette. It's got a bunch of other things that trial does not have. So Pro is accurate if you're transitioning from the trial version to Pro. But then Pro to EX is another leg. All right, so we got our little preset for our sticker sheet. I actually have an entire folder just for sticker hopefuls. Now, I had mentioned my Sticker of the Month Club at the top of this stream, so I'm not going to format anything for March's Sticker of the Month Club because polling is still going on. If you would like to become a member of the Sticker of the Month Club, just head on over to ko-fi.com/KelseyDCrawford and sign up to give $10 a month, and you'll become a member that way. You'll also get access to the Tiny Dinos Discord server, which is where the poll is largely being held. So, because polling is still happening for March's Sticker of the Month Club, we're going to lay out something different. Let us lay out a Dragon Baby Pride design, because I have a whole bunch of Pride designs involving dragon babies. And I'll show off what that means here in a second. Let's lay out the Gilbert Dragon Baby. This is called the Gilbert Dragon Baby because this uses the pride colors from the Gilbert flag. The Gilbert flag is the OG flag for the LGBTQ community. It has pink and 2 different versions of blue. Most pride flags nowadays do not have the pink stripe, and they combine the 2 blue stripes into a different blue to just consolidate and make it easier to mass produce. But the Gilbert flag was the original. So we got our little Gilbert Dragon Baby. We're gonna shrink her down. I'm gonna use the transform tool over here. So, excuse me. About here-ish ought to do. I just realized there's a bit of a goof because I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to take this Gilbert and I'm going to drag it off the canvas. And do you see how there's a white block around it? That's because this image is saved as a .tiff. Now, .tiff, handy for when you're printing things, not necessarily handy when you're laying out things and you want things to overlap. So we're just going to delete that. And I'm actually going to remove that so that I can get Clip Studio Paint up in another window and show you saving things as PNG or .png. So we're going to open up the whips and we're going to get the Dragon Baby keychain. So you see how there's this like weird checker pattern in the background here? That means that there's no background. That's what that means. Very handy whenever you are wanting to save something that has a transparent background. So we got this. So we go into File, Export Single Layer, and we're going to export it as a PNG. Alrighty. Now, hold on one sec. Share. Forgot that there's only so many screens that StreamYard can handle all at once. There we go. Okay. So we got Clip Studio back up. And we got our little Dragon Baby. This is the PNG export settings because cancel. We got this here. We got the transparent background. That's what this weird checker background is that I mentioned just a second ago. This weird checker background means that the background is transparent. And that's what we want if we want to save it as a .png. .png is the format that you want when you want to save something with a transparent background. So File, Export Single Layer, and you can have your options here. Now, .bmp, I would not recommend using .bmp unless you are saving work in black and white. Because BMP is a bit of a data hog. But it does come in handy when you're saving things in black and white. I wish I had more information for why that is. I just don't have that information yet. I'm still learning about the .bnp format. JPEG is the usual. .png has a transparent background. .tiff is for print things, like particularly print comics or anything that has like a lot of information in it, but you want that information to hold when you print it. The problem with JPEGs is that the more times that you open up a JPEG file, the more information it loses, which is why the internet has been largely shifting over to .png, because .png maintains its information. Again, wish I could tell you why. I don't know the exact science behind it, but we're going to export this as a .png because we want that transparent background for this. So, Dragon Baby Pride. This is the Gilbert variant. Print 2. And it'll pop up with the PNG export settings. And for this, I'm not too worried about everything else. Though I do see at the bottom, process when scaling. There's one option for illustration and one option for comic. For this, we're just going to save it as for illustration, though I'm going to look at the for comic one. Scale up and down, whole layer, control line, tones. Okay, that's not what we need. We're going to process when scaling for illustration. So we're not going to touch anything here. Okay. That's the export preview. Looks good. Okay. So we got that all exported, and that means I can stop sharing that screen, and I can share the Affinity Publisher screen again, making sure everything's okay, cool. Everything's hunky-dory. And we are going to go back into Affinity Publisher, and we will drag and drop this new PNG that we just made. And boom! Oh my gosh, look at that transparent background. Holy banana pants. What? That's what we wanted. Cool. All right. So about here. And we're going to just shrink them down a bit. Boom. Boop. Okay. That'll do. That'll do. And we're going to copy paste. Hold shift and pull it over. Because when you hold shift and you move it, it moves it along a guide instead of like freeform movement like this. There we go. Okay. We're going to select both and we're going to shrink them down a little bit more because I want to be able to fit a third. Copy paste. And there. There's our third. And then we select all three. There we go. Copy paste. Hold shift, drag it down. Keeps it along an axis. Boom. And we're going to select all 6 of these and we're going to copy paste. Hold shift, drag them all down. Boom. Alrighty. Actually, I'm going to select all of these. And there we go. Okay. Shift. Oh. Undo, because it did not select this one. Okay. Probably the easier thing to do instead of trying to select everything on the white sheet here is to just go over on the right command bar with layers, and we are going to select, and then we're going to shift, hold, and that selected all of them. Good. Boop. That was what we wanted. Copy paste, drag it down, boop, boop. Okay. I think that'll do. I could shrink this down a little further and fit another row in, but I'm not going to do that, I think. I think I'm just going to keep it like so for now. And we're just going to save that. In a sec. Dragon Baby Pride Gilbert. Because this is based on the Gilbert flag. And if we wanted to export it for printing, what we do is we go into File, Export. The hotkeys for this are also Control, Alt, Shift, S. It's a lot of hotkeys though, so I just tend to go to Export. Now, for printing, the preset is PDF for print. This I am going to modify a bit. We're going to hit More. And it'll pop up with export settings, another little sub window. And one of the things in this export setting window is a little checkbox, and it's usually checked, that says allow JPEG compression. We are going to uncheck that box because I don't like JPEG compression when exporting something for print. Not that any of these are JPEGs, but still we're not going to allow compression for this particular sheet because this is just for printing. Now, if we were exporting for web, there's an entirely different preset for that. And we'll get to that in a sec. Close and export. Cool. Okay. When I hit export, it'll pop up in a separate window to show you how it looks, and everything looked good. So yes, we're going to save, and I'm going to open up The Legend of Azumi to show the export settings for web publishing because I love The Legend of Azumi. Unfortunately, this is going to be one of those comics that will very likely only exist as a PDF. All right, so File, Export, and it'll pop up with a little window here. And okay, I'm going to save it as PDF. And we are actually going to shrink it to 144 because when export settings pops up, it'll offer, do you want to save it as a PNG, a JPEG, a GIF, or GIF if you want to piss off the entire internet? Or do you want to save it as a TIFF, a Photoshop, an SVG, a WMF? I'm not entirely sure what a WMF is. WMF, WMF. An EPS. And there's a few other options that I have no idea what they are, but we're going to export this as PDF. Excuse me. And presets, there's a little drop-down window, and you can select digital high quality or digital small size or PDF for export, or because I'm checking out the PDF drop-down menu here. We're going to do digital high quality PDF, and we're going to raster DPI 144, preview export when complete, all pages, and that is a way to do it. Okay. All right. That is all for now. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. Whoa. I hope this walkthrough proved useful for anybody who is looking to format their own comics in Affinity Publisher. Again, I do appreciate Affinity Publisher. It's actually more budget friendly than you think it is. So I highly recommend that you get this program if you are a comic artist who wants to lay out books on your own without giving Adobe any of your money. So let's get into final announcements time. Finally, I can delete a freaking comment. Yay. Oh, geez. I don't know why that was so hard. All right, final announcements. So, like I mentioned at the top of this stream, my webcomic, The Legend of Jamie Roberts, drops a new page tomorrow. Be sure to check that out at thelegendofjamieroberts.com. If you are watching this on YouTube, the link is also in the dibbity-doo. I will be streaming again this Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That stream is in collaboration with HerdCon. HerdCon is a convention hosted by Marshall University down in Huntington, West Virginia. I was a exhibitor at their first ever HerdCon way back in 2019, I want to say. Had a great time while I was there. Met a lot of cool people. It was just a fun show. 2020, obviously, they had to cancel their show because of the global panini. And then last year, they went virtual. This year, they are in person again, but they encouraged me to do a little live stream in conjunction with their show. So if you are able to go in person, again, this is at Marshall University in Huntington, West Virginia, HerdCon. Attendance is free. That is also going to be true of this live stream. The live stream will be free to watch. It will be on YouTube and Twitch, aka the channels that you are watching this on currently. By the way, if you are watching this on Twitch, the stream will archive not just on Twitch, but also on YouTube. So this is true of all of the other live streams. So if you've missed a live stream and it is not archived on Twitch right now, it is more than likely on YouTube. So just check out my YouTube channel. You can find that on my linktree/KelseyD. It's also on my website. My website being kelseydcrawford.com. You can also find that on Linktree. Let's see. If you have the means to, please donate to the Ukrainian Red Cross. Here is the link to do so. I believe I also have the link in the doobly-doo on YouTube. But if you have the means, please donate to the Ukrainian Red Cross. If you do, and you let me know that you did, I will draw a mystery commission for you for free. Mystery commission means that it is a piece of art custom drawn just for you, but I get to decide what it is that's drawn. That's what a mystery commission is. But you will get one if you donate to the Ukrainian Red Cross. Sticker of the Month Club is open for enrollment. If you have the means to become a member, you got 2 ways to become a member. The first is to go to ko-fi.com/KelseyD Crawford and donate $10 a month. The other option is to go to patreon.com/KelseyD Stickers and sign up for the $10 a month tier. Those are if you want a sticker mailed to you directly each month. If you just want voting privileges, just $1 a month is fine. But if you want to get actual stickers in your mailbox every month, $10 a month at least. So there we go. And be sure to download The Legend of Azumi at tinyurl.com/TLOAM. I also have a bunch of other comics PDFs available for download. Those are through my Ko-fi shop. I also have free coloring book pages that you can download that you can color. If you color those, please tag me on social media. I am primarily on Instagram and TikTok, which I haven't posted on TikTok for a while. I probably should fix that. Anything else? Those are the big ones. Again, I stream every Tuesday and Saturday. This upcoming stream on Saturday is in collaboration with HerdCon, so be sure to tune in. If you have the ability to attend HerdCon, it is free admission. I believe they are enforcing a mask policy. I know that there are some places where mask policies are being lifted, but not at HerdCon as far as I am aware. Check their website for more details, though. They also have Instagram and Facebook pages, so you can find them elsewhere on the internet. And with that, we're going to wrap this stream up a little early because this was just a walkthrough how-to video. I hope that this proved useful. If you have further questions for me, ask them in the comments on YouTube, or if you're watching this on my blog, just leave a comment on my blog. I will answer to the best of my ability or point you to the resources that will answer that question for you. That is all for now. Thank you all so much for watching. You are awesome.